Welcome to day 4 of the Rich Method. I'm so excited that you're back, and today I'm going to be sharing the biggest mistake I made in the last 9 months, how you can avoid it, and the different types of people that can be the most dangerous clients. I actually have 5. There's probably, an unlimited way to describe them. You might have different names or ways, but there's a theme here, and I want it to be able to help you because one of the things that I have learned over and over and over again in 17 years in business is that it costs way less money to remove the wrong people immediately than to let things unfold. And I'm going to share with you my mistake so that you don't have to make it. If you haven't watched days 1, 2, and 3, I highly recommend that you go back and do it because there's aspects in this series that build on each other. For example, if you don't get day 1 and you're not thinking like Whole Foods, taking action on any of the other videos is going to not be complete because most people are just not creating content and courses, programs, experiences, retreats for the right people. So I'll make sure that we have links to everything so that you can catch the previous sessions as well. So let's dive in, shall we? Now, I have to tell you the biggest mistake I made, it didn't happen because I didn't see something from a mile away. It wasn't because I didn't see this person from a mile away. It wasn't because I didn't recognize who they were or what they were up to. It wasn't that I didn't know that something was off from the get-go. It was because I ignored it and I decided to proceed and go forward. This is an important point to pause at and to underline and highlight because how many of you have had moments where your gut was telling you, whether it's about a person or a process in your business, a decision in your business, a direction that you're going, you knew that it was not right. You saw the red flags and you heard the sirens and you ignored it. There's reasons why we ignore things. You might ignore it because you see someone else did that thing and it worked out really well for them. And even though everything inside of you is saying it's not right for you, you proceed anyway. You might be like me in terms of spotting people. And number one, I am a recovering people pleaser. I did get a PhD in that. And so well aware of my ability and my tendency, my habits of accommodating people that I shouldn't accommodate. And I'm going to share honestly, and I'm actually going to share to the edge of what I can share, because this is something that is a topic that is very prevalent in our societies and culture right now. This idea that it's so important to be open-minded, that it's so important to be inclusive, that it's important to, be accessible. And this is what I want you to know. I don't care what people do in their own life. I don't care what they do behind closed doors. I don't care what decisions and choices they make. But what I can tell you is that in my business, I'm unwilling to be open-minded. I'm unwilling to be inclusive, and I'm unwilling to make it available for everyone. Because the real thing that went wrong and my biggest mistake is that I lost sight of my standards for myself and my business. That's why I let something happen and play out that should have been stopped from the 3 minutes after I met this person. Now, this might result in, my inbox being filled with, all of the hate mail. Cool. Because this is what I'm going to tell you is your life and your business is your choice, your decision, your standards, your ability to decide who gets in and who is not in. I don't care what people do out there, but if they're going to come into my world, I deeply care. And what I can tell you is that you should deeply care because it does impact you. It costs you a lot of time, money, and energy, but it also impacts your clients. And I'm going to tell you how my story impacted my clients and how it wasn't fair and how it nearly brought broke trust before I had hit momentum in this network like the Rich division of our business. So let's go back to, I want to say it was August. I had just opened up Rich Mixer, and I was promoting it at $9 a month, and I was building the membership. And it was like most of my programs, most of my stuff, the link is all over social media. You can buy off the link. And someone I didn't know bought off the link. This person attended a meeting, and within 5 minutes, no, let me be honest, 5 seconds of them opening their mouth, I knew that they didn't belong in my world, that they didn't belong in Rich Mixer. They didn't belong in my business. They didn't even belong to be a friend or contact of mine on social media. I knew this immediately. I said, you know what? I'm going to give them a chance. I'm going to let it play out. I'm going to be open-minded. I'm not going to be a jerk. I'm going to give them a chance. So most of us who have businesses, most of you who are watching this, we have this ability to look at people and to see what's possible for them. We have this ability to see who they could be, what their life could be, what their health could be, what their money could be, what their business could be, what their marriage could be, what their health could. Did I say that already? We see what's possible. And what I want to remind you of today is that it's important to see what is. To take people at face value. This is who they are right now. If this is who you are right now, you don't get an access to my world. You do not get the door open to you, plain and simple. You could potentially at some point in the future become someone else. That is not my business. You are not a 6 to a 9.9 on the Whole Foods scale. You're not jiving with me. Then immediately you actually become a threat to myself, my business, the culture that I create, and the environment I create for my clients. That is how I see it now. But I let this person talk and share. I even let them talk more than I should have. And I let it go and I let it go. And then this person decided to come into my inbox. We have no relationship, do not know them from Adam. Decided to come into my inbox and start speaking to me like we have a relationship, like we have history, like we're incredibly close. Start getting demanding about how I respond and when I respond, insisting that we need to co-lead things together, that they are on the same level and actually further along than I am, and that I need to bring them in and I need to highlight them and I need to learn from them. I mean, the list went on and on. Now, there's people I can learn from. There's people who are further along than I am. There's people who've made more money than me. There's people who've done things I've never done. But when somebody I don't know, when somebody you don't know comes into your world, comes into your space and begins speaking this way, it is a huge red flag. Huge red flag. I let it go on. I let it happen. I tried to ignore them, downplay it. And that's led to them taking it up a notch and a notch and a notch until my inbox, I was getting 5, 10, 15 messages a day from this person. And when the communication reached this level, that's when I realized, oh, Monique, you've been nice as long as you can be nice. You've been open-minded for as long as you can be open-minded. You have been considerate and respectful for as long as you can be considerate and respectful. And there's something that I want to pause and say here. If somebody has paid you money and you begin to consider, even for a second, that because they paid you money, their behavior can be any way that they choose to be, you're in dangerous territory. And that's exactly where I had arrived. I had withheld and stopped myself from correcting them, from removing them, from addressing it, because they had paid me money and I was trying to figure out how to navigate this. This is a client. It's not a rando on the internet who just popped in. This is somebody who's paying me. Just because people pay us money doesn't give them license to behave incorrectly with us. Clients can pay us and they must be correct with us. Period. End of story. So in that moment, I knew I had let it go on too long and I had let it go too far. And the thing that I should have done months prior, I was going to now have to do, only it was going to be harder and messier. Because here's the reason why. At this point, this person had way more access to a group of my clients, both through an online community, through a face-to-face, meeting regularly community, by friending them on social media, all of the things. There was way more connection to a group of clients. But how many of you have ever got to the place when you realize you got to roll up your sleeves and do the hard thing, and you've got to address the thing? You don't want conflict, you don't want confrontation, but you can't ignore it anymore. And that's where I arrived. So I addressed it head on. I said what was acceptable. I said how I was going to behave, what needed to happen. I laid it all out. Well, as you can imagine, it wasn't received well. So then I proceeded to refund all of the money, remove from all the programs, remove from social media, remove from the communities, ban from the business, block all of the things. This is what I decided to do. Is in 5 minutes, everything was done. And this is what I will tell you. When you spot it and when you decide to take action, you've got to take swift action with people who are incorrect with you, people whose behavior is not okay, and especially with people who are mentally unstable. You have to do it quickly. This idea that you're going to sit down and have an adult conversation and things are going to make sense for them, it's not going to happen. And if you do this slowly, it'll cost you more and it will create more chaos for the people in your world. So this is the one thing I did right in this situation, is once I decided and I took action, I did it insanely fast. He didn't have time to do more things. Then this is what I sat with. As soon as all of this was done, I already knew, because this isn't my first rodeo, I knew what the next move was: to contact every single person he knew was my client and to badmouth me, or to try to whatever, give them a message, a persuasion of this, that, or the other. And so this is what I considered. Should I reach out to the clients first, or do I wait? My gut told me to wait, to not introduce a message or a conversation that may not impact them. And so I waited. Thankfully, that was the right decision. I waited until it happened and until they approached me. This is the second thing I did right. When my client sent me a message and said, "This is going on, this is happening," I said, "Thank you for letting me know. I'm sorry this is happening. I have taken the steps to ensure this person is removed. Is there anything else that I can do to support you in this?" I did my best to communicate in a way that was concise and clear, but wasn't venting, wasn't bad-mouthing, wasn't creating more drama than was already there. Because my clients don't deserve this. This isn't their issue. This isn't their problem. They have other things in their life. They have their own monkeys and their own circus. They don't need mine. So by following this process, it allowed for the conversations to wrap up quickly. So there wasn't more gasoline being thrown on that fire. I highly recommend you do the same. If at any point you have to deal with something like this, don't feed it and make it bigger, because our clients are not the appropriate people for us to process a situation with, or to vent about what's happened, or to say why this, that, and the other. It's about wrapping it up quickly for them so they're impacted the least possible. Now, I want to tell you the types of people and the types of behavior to keep an eye out for. And this is what I'm going to tell you as well, is it's important that you consider in advance how you're going to handle it. You know your personality, you know your track record, you know your weaknesses, you know what you tend to do and not tend to do. You know what you're comfortable with, and you know what makes you insanely uncomfortable. And I will tell you, there will be people who come into your life and business who will help you practice, who will help you do the things you don't want to do, to get better at the things that you just rather avoid, until we master it. So the first thing that I recommend is that the minute and the second you spot something that is not tracking for you, in terms of this person is not right for me, my business, and them having interactions and access to my clients is a very bad idea, I'm going to encourage you to do it immediately. Even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it means issuing a refund, even if it means whatever it means, do it immediately. Because the more time they have to do their thing, the more it's going to impact you and your clients, the more it will impact your bank account. The other thing that I will say is this, is that if you right now or in the future have people who do not fit with what you're doing, they just flat out don't fit. They want to fit, they'd love to fit, they dream of fitting, but they don't fit. Do the right thing for you, them, and your clients. Take them out. Take them out of your programs, take them out of your community. Because here's the other thing that I've learned in the past, and this is why when the decision was made, they were immediately removed off the friends list and even out of the free Facebook group. Because if you let someone who has the traits that I'm going to go through sit in your Facebook group, let me tell you what they still have access to: a whole lot of people. They are watching every move you make, and they are seeing the people who respond to you. They're seeing the people who buy from you. They're seeing the people who sing your praises. They're seeing every single member of your group and everyone on your friends list, and they have access to their inbox. So let's go through the 5. I actually decided to get a little sense of humor about this. Some of you have seen, I have started to create reels about, I created characters for the 5 most dangerous types of people, for myself at least, and you might see them in what you experience as well. So I created entire characters and I gave them names, and I also do reels about them. But I want to give it to you in a nutshell here. So the first one is Sally Sue. Gosh, I've been talking about Sally Sue for so long. You all heard of Sally Sue? So Sally Sue, she's very sweet. She's saccharine sweet. And this is what makes her so dangerous, because she's incredibly nice and she's incredibly sweet, and she's just always laughing and she's always excited and she's always inspired and she's always just getting downloads and just really, really happy to be here. That's Sally Sue. But Sally Sue, Sally Sue on the surface looks fine. She looks like she couldn't hurt a fly. But Sally Sue will fly under the radar. And Sally Sue, this is what she does. She's someone who is incredibly sweet, but her dumb act will suck the life and energy out of you. She will want to pick your brain. She'll want to ask you lots of questions. She'll stroke your ego. She'll make you feel like you're so important and that you're so special and that you're so smart and you're just so good at what you do that before you know it, you've given her way too much time and information. Sally Sue is never really going to do anything, but it's fun for her to play this role. So what I would say is this, is be mindful of people who love bomb you, who play dumb, who will put you up on a pedestal, and who are super, super nice, but also always popping in, always popping in. They don't take any real action. They're not going to do a single word you say. They're not going to buy from you, but they will absolutely work their way in to your most inner circle, and they will take a lot of your time, a lot of your space, and they will take and take and take. That's Sally Sue. Jackwagon Jackie, she's also been around for a while. Jackwagon Jackie, she has a different thing. She's very professional. She is very smart. She articulates herself well, but Jackwagon Jackie doesn't want anything except for control. And not just control in her own life, she wants control over you. This is the person who will say polite things to your face, but their actions, they don't feel good at all. This is the type of person, this is like the classic nightmare client. Now that I've spent money with you, you must not only deliver what you said you would deliver, but you must deliver so much more than that. And actually, it's your responsibility to get me results. Anyone ever met a Jackwagon Jackie? And I want the results yesterday, and I can make these demands because I've spent money with you. And you better watch your P's and Q's, and you better dot your I's and cross your T's, because I'm watching you. And if you don't do what I say, I'll make your life hell. That's Jackwagon Jackie. Raging Rhonda. I'm going to tell you the truth. I haven't done a reel about Raging Rhonda yet. Because let me tell you, Raging Rhondas are scary, okay? And they're really prevalent on the internet right now. Raging Rhondas, you don't want as clients. You don't want as clients. And if you witness their behavior, I would even recommend unfriending and blocking them. The reason I unfriend and block is because the internet, as big as most people think it is, it's actually very small. You will bump into these people in other people's groups, in something 3 years down the road. The internet is just like this. It's actually like a big small town. Raging Rhondas are reactive, they're emotional, they're mean girls. They take everything personally, and they really love every day and every moment of every day that they can create drama. They thrive in stress and chaos and instability, and they bring that everywhere they go. Most Raging Rhondas do not like people who are successful. They criticize them the most. They get a thrill and a tickle. It just lights up their world when someone who's doing better than them has a moment. Raging Rondas are dangerous because if you are like me and you plan on being the best you can be, and you plan on growing, and you plan on making money, and you plan on helping a lot of people, a raging Rhonda, nothing makes her rage more than when someone does well. It becomes incredibly incompatible. Raging Rhonda is also the person who's going to create conflict within your clients, within your communities. She will go after anyone's throat. She thinks that she's doing the Lord's work by helping everyone and warning everyone about the wrong people and about nonsense in the industry, but really she's a horrible person who's gunning for you. That's the raging Rhonda. This leads me to delusional Diane. This is probably the best category that I could put my biggest mistake in. Delusional Diane really doesn't think that the rules apply to them. They think that they're above other people. They see themselves as so special and everyone else so ordinary. They do not understand the rules of life, or like I usually say, earth rules. They don't do that. They avoid themselves. They lack self-awareness. They often lack people skills, social skills. They talk a big game, but there's nothing in their life to show that, to back that up. They're just a really big deal. They're incredibly good. They're the best, but they don't have the evidence of that. They are completely outside of reality. These people are difficult because there is no chance for growth or change, because they are not open to a mirror or to accountability or self-reflection. The only way that I grow, the only way that you grow, is we recognize this thing is not good. This thing is not okay. This thing is the reason I'm not experiencing this thing I say I want. Therefore, I must change me. For delusional Diane, everyone else needs to change and bend to their reality. It's a tough person to have around. And last but not least is Luna Cat. This name was actually inspired by one of my clients, and she gave me this name. Luna Cat, she's similar to Sally Sue in that she seems like she's not dangerous. She seems like she couldn't hurt a fly. But Luna Cat is she's the person who's deeply connected to the other side, very clear on her life's work, understands energy, understands frequency, understands her ancestors are supporting her, understands many things, but absolutely refuses to translate it for this world. This means that she speaks another language consistently. She has made money bad. She sounds incredibly deep. In fact, she will tell most people that she's the deep one and they're the ones who can't, quite get on her level. But at the end of the day, she's like Sally Sue. She will take a lot of time and energy. She will actually do her best to convince you you shouldn't be charging money for what you do, that everything in this world should be free, that we should all just live in a, maybe a hippie commune together and, grow potatoes and carrots. And that's what makes the world go round. Luna Cat is really going to have difficulties fitting in to your systems. She's going to be the one who's like, can I pay a different way? Can you make an extended payment plan for me? I don't really like that platform. It doesn't mesh with my energy. Could you host your program over here? Could you accommodate me because that doesn't work for me? Luna Cat is going to do her best to get you to do everything uniquely and specifically for her. If you have a business that has systems and processes as you should, she is going to buck every single one and then watch what you do. Your business has to have your standards. Your business needs to be a space that not everyone can be in. Not everyone has earned the right to be in your programs. Not everyone has earned the right to be in your community. Not everyone has earned the right to be your friend or your follower on social media. Not everyone has earned the right to be on your email list. Not everyone's earned the right to have conversations with you, to jump into your DMs, to have any time or space with you. Not everyone has. And one of the worst things about people who are really good at what they do and have a big heart is that they are often empathetic, too empathetic to the wrong people. If you've ever been guilty of this, you already know how this plays out. It never ends well. Now, the part of the story I didn't tell was that this all began in August. And it played out and spun out before I had real traction. Actually, I was just on the cusp of it. So the clients that were contacted, at that point, had I not handled it correctly, I could have lost that solid base group of clients that I had, and I would have had to go back to the drawing board and start over. That group of clients is really what helped me get the next big leap, helped me promote the event that I did a couple months later, invited their friends. Instead of them promoting my stuff on social media, like I talked about in yesterday's video, the secret sauce video, instead of them sharing my programs, and instead of them inviting their friends and colleagues, they could have just went away. They would have stopped being my client, and I would have never, ever got any of their referrals. It was a really bad moment for me to jeopardize everything that I had built at that point. I want to tell you, I got a second chance at a second test. This happened more recently. I want to say it was about a month and a half ago. Someone that I don't know bought a spot in Rich Mixer. And one of the things that I choose to do in my business, because I do sell off the link and my links are all over social media, is when somebody purchases something, I take their name, I take their email address, and I go search for them on social media. I send them a friend request. I want to welcome them to the program. I want to make sure they have next steps, but also I want to observe them. I want to see who they are. Especially in a case of Rich Mixer, they're going to be immediately be put into a group, stuck in with a group of people who I like and who like me, and we have some sort of connection and bond and history together, and they're going to immediately get to pop into that group, and they're going to have the ability to behave within that group poorly or well. So I was observing this person. Immediately after reading 2 or 3 social media posts, I knew that she was a delusional Diane, like to the nth degree. So I already knew that she was not going to stay in the crew. But I was deciding about how I was going to go about it. Now, what I will tell you, and what you've probably already learned, is it's ideal when that other person comes to the conclusion on their own that they don't want to be in your world. But oftentimes that won't happen. They're going to push it until you make the decision, you make the call. So I was prepared for her. I had an idea of who she was, her personality. I already knew how she was going to behave. She did have a touch of Luna Cat in her because she also didn't really want to fit into the processes. She didn't feel like the rules applied to her. So she shows up to Rich Mixer. And for those of you who have been to Rich Mixer, there's a very clear process. There's instructions, there's directions, there's steps, and we move through it in a very clear, organized way. It's not a free for all. It's not just a everyone share and just unmute yourself and go for it. I gave clear instructions, and I intentionally gave extra clear instructions that day because I knew who was in the call. Every single person followed the instructions and did what was the next step. And when it was her turn, she immediately stands up. First indicator, she's not following the thing. She's launching into her own unique introduction that's not following the process I just laid out. She was not interested in sharing one clear ask, having one sentence. She had prepared something in advance. And I get that. If you've never been to Rich Mixer, we don't do it like other groups. And so if you have something prepared in advance, you might feel a little bit put off that you didn't get to share the thing that you were ready to share. But I had already learned from the biggest mistake that wasn't going to happen. Not one time. Not because she was a new member, not because it was her first day, not because she had paid to be in Rich Mixer. Under no circumstances was somebody going to come into Rich Mixer and not play the game that I outlined. And so 2.2 seconds into her thing, I stopped her. I interrupted her, I stopped her, and I asked her to do the thing that I had asked her to do already. She didn't appreciate it. Nobody else in the room may have noticed, but her and I had a moment, a standoff. She stopped her thing, somewhat did what I instructed, and we went on. Because she was going to take more time than anyone else because she's more special than everyone else. She's more important. After the call, I already knew what was going to happen. So she sent me a message and said, I would like to cancel my membership. It's a very weird group. I don't feel like it's right for me. I don't feel like I'm going to be seen and respected the way that I deserve. And I don't like what you've created. Here's the other lesson that I've learned, and I will tell you, I learned it the hard way. I didn't do it the first time. I used to be the kind of person who was like, yeah, oh, well, right, yeah. Oh, well, check this out. I got something to say about you too. I'm okay now letting the person have the last statement. I'm okay with them saying, I don't like the thing you created. I want out. And it's very weird. Cool. I no longer need to go in and get into a back and forth and defend myself and say who I am and what I'm not and how they're wrong and how I'm right. I don't need it anymore. I just said, I completely understand. Your membership has been canceled. The reason the membership was canceled is because she didn't have any intentions in the future of participating the way that the group participates. She didn't have a desire to be with other people. She had a desire to do her own thing, and it was squashed immediately. So I passed the second test. Test 3 is coming, no doubt. What is your most recent test? What did you learn from it? Did it help you develop this ability to notice behavior, to recognize behavior sooner, to trust yourself faster, and to know what next steps are coming so that you can protect yourself, your business, and your clients? Business, life, relationships, they're always going to be offering us opportunities to get better at trusting ourselves, at honoring the communities we build, the standards that we create, respecting the clients who trust us, to improving our communication skills, and to handling conflict when it arises. What I can tell you is this type of person and this whole collection of behavior that we've discussed today, if it goes unchecked, it doesn't get better. It doesn't die down. It doesn't diminish. It only continues to grow. It will just push and push and push until we decide to be the leader, the CEO, and the person who we know we can be. At the end of the day, people are not buying our services or our experiences. They're buying into our leadership first. They're buying into who we are when they're not looking. They're buying into how we handle things when it gets hard. That's really what they're buying into. So today, what I want to give you as your action item is I want to encourage you to look at the things, the types of people, the situations, the experiences that pull at your strength, that make you second guess yourself, that drain you, that discourage you, that have a negative impact on you in any way, shape, or form. And make sure that this isn't inside your business. It's going to be out there in the world, but it cannot be inside your business. It cannot be within your clientele. It cannot be within your communities. Get honest with yourself about if there's someone or something that has to go. And create a process for yourself. And if you need to hear this today, then this is for you. You are not a bad person because you don't let everyone in. You are not a jerk. And it's not your responsibility to put up with everyone's behavior, especially when it goes against your standards. You have work to do. And anyone and anything that prevents you from doing the work that you're here to do at your best capacity, it has to go. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about it. We're gonna have the next session is about how to communicate. I said that half of these sessions are going to be on communication. I'm going to be hitting on some things that most people don't want to tell you. Most things that people don't say out loud. But in the online space, people don't hire us because we have 17 years of experience. You should not hire me because I have 17 years of experience. You should hire me because I know how to help you get one thing that you want. I'm going to show you how to communicate beyond experience, beyond passion, to what other people actually want. Underneath these sessions on communication, there's really this stone that lays beneath them. This stone represents what most people are focused on 24 hours a day, and it's themselves. Most people are only concerned with themselves and what they want and how they can get what they want. Now, we can make that good, bad, or other, but if you remember that, when you're communicating, when you're selling, when you're promoting, when you're writing emails, when you're doing reels, when you're going live, if you can remember the people who are watching and reading and listening and clicking really just want to know if this will help them get what they want. If it'll help them get what they want, if it'll help them get what they want faster, easier, sooner, more conveniently, that's really what's under it all. I'll see you for tomorrow's session. Thank you for being here. Remember, removing the wrong people, it will cost you. No matter what, it will cost you, but it'll cost you way less if you do it the minute you recognize them. I'll see you soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day.